Like, I haven't seen you all in quite a while, but it feels great. And Happy New Year to all those that are with us. Thank you to all our listeners in Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, KGNU.org. Without our listener numbers, we wouldn't be able to bring great programming to you. We have a phenomenal show today as we continue our series this year of investigative reporting of UpDog, as we go out and we seek the concerns of the community, and we bring those individuals into you today. And so as we continue on, I would be remiss if I didn't say the climate that we are in right now in this world is one that seems to be very divisive and destructive. And as community members, it's our job to stand in the gap, stand up, be foot soldiers for the greater good. So I'm going to call on all the listeners out there to get engaged, get involved. You know, this weekend is the Women's March, and so I'm hoping that many of you will be able to join us down here at Civic Center Park as a community, and just to stand for the injustices that are plaguing our world. You know, when you have the free leader of this country speaking as he does, I think it is our duty as citizens of this country to say we expect more and we deserve more. And so with that, that will be my little pitch for today about being engaged and involved. But with that, we have a wonderful show for you today. We have SEIU, which is a local union here located in Southwest Denver, in studio today. And a couple of guests. We have Carlos Ontiveros and Eric Danger, who's in studio, and a couple of other guests that are going to probably jump in and out at different points in times. But really, what I'm really focusing a lot of the series of these shows on in the midst of this beginning of springtime is really about engaging the issues and concerns of the community. And so the last couple of shows have been focused on Adams 14 and the dysfunction of the superintendent, this dismantling of bilingual education in Commerce City. And today, we're talking about contracts and negotiations and local regular citizens that are working to keep things going and functioning for our city, that are working hard, that are the backbone of our country, and in particular our city. And so with that, Carlos, how are you doing today?
Good, good. Thank you, Jose, for having us today.
Carlos, it's great to have you in studio. And Eric, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Yeah, appreciate you having us on here.
Thank you so very much. We have a couple other guests, and they'll probably jump in. And well, when they do, if you'll just let our listeners know your name. And so, as you know, the SEIU and a number of individuals reached out to me, and I'm very familiar with the work, but maybe our listeners aren't familiar with the work that SEIU does. So if you guys can share a little bit with us why SEIU is important, what the union does, but more so, what is SEIU doing to stand in the gap for the community?
You know, it's important to know of all the things that SEIU does. You know, they get involved with a lot of rights that people are being taken away. And, you know, and it's important to those people that don't have a voice. You know, the SEIU jumps in there and they give people a voice, and they allow them to get what they deserve back. You know, and this is it's a constant battle. It's a constant battle that nobody's willing to take on. And when they do this, you know, it gives unity to a lot of people that don't always come together, but they do when they know that they have somebody to support them.
Definitely. You know, and I would concur with you there that unions have been that place in the community that have supported workers, have fought for workers, and have engaged in those battles. And Eric, you know, as a member of SEIU and the work you do, can you tell us a little bit about what you do in SEIU and what brought you to become a union member, and why is it important for you to be here today?
It's extremely important because, as Carlos was saying, it gives the employees a voice. So, you know, and alongside of that, it provides some accountability with our company, HSS. So it kind of goes back and forth. You know, we have rights. We have stuff that we need to strive for, better working conditions. So it just kind of gives us like a foundation to kind of build off of.
Definitely. And SEIU represents the Service Employees International Union. So service employees, which could be janitorial workers, security guards, any of those kind of service employee roles, correct? And so within your guys' role, what do you represent, and what is it? What do you represent, and how is SEIU supporting you all? Before we get into the gist of it.
Okay, so SEIU is basically right now there's with what I represent is we're in the security field,
Yep.
and you know, at this moment right now the with the way the market is, and you know, everybody's moving to Denver,
Yeah.
and you know, the cost of living is going up.
Wait, people could
Yeah.
actually afford to live in Denver?
Oh, I wish we could, but you know,
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to that's what we're trying to explain to them,
Yeah.
is that we can't make a living with what they're giving to us, and I know that there's other companies that are that SEIU is supporting, and because they're involved, it's making it affordable for people to live.
Definitely. So by,
You know.
by SEIU standing in the gap and advocating for those wages, right, those livable wages, those cost wages, people are able then to survive and still maintain, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know, and they've been doing this for a while, so they kind of are like, you know, it's at our foundation. They know how to do this, and so they're kind of giving us, you know, having our back as we kind of move forward through our negotiations and our contracts. So it's definitely a blessing to have them alongside with us, and we're able to, you know, do what we can do because of them.
As we move forward, what is going on? So what has brought us to this day? I got a phone call, hey Jose, this is what's taking place. Tell our listeners what's going on.
Okay, well, you know, it all starts off with you know, the wages. You know, we just talked about that, and you know, it's hard to make a living, and not only that, but you know, the sometimes there's conditions that they put us through that either cost us our job sometimes, or can you know, incriminate us in a way, but you know, because they're contracted with the city, they kind of just throw us into the field without, you know, giving us training, you know, paying us to be able to afford to live.
Definitely.
And there, you know, many other things that.
Well, let's talk about the training piece real quick and the wages. So HSS they're the contract security providers for the city and county of Denver. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So city municipal government buildings, is that who we see in there? The white shirts, HSS on the badge, is that the city and county building, the courthouse? What other facilities do you think they would be at?
Yeah, I mean, right now we represent the government buildings downtown. So if you go to the courthouses, city and county building, Lindsay Flanagan Detention Center, there's a permit building, the MY building. We represent that aspect of it. HSS is also located in hospitals and at DIA.
Perfect. Okay. So, as a citizen of Denver, I have this expectation that all these individuals are trained at a high functioning level, right? And I spent quite a bit of time downtown going through security, in and out of the Webb building, the Lindsay Flanagan, any of those places where I might have meetings, the city and county building. And I'll be honest with you, most recently I've not felt like those individuals are the most adequately trained individuals that are there. And I say this as a native of Denver, somebody who's fought for the city. And so I guess that when you talk about training, I'm a little concerned there that they're the front line to the protection of the private citizens going into that building.
That's correct, Jose. You know, and a lot of people, they don't realize that, you know, the training that we receive isn't adequate. And, you know, I remember a while ago when I first started, I walked in and there was the professionalism, and this was a while ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is probably when HSS was.
When they first got the contract,
when they were,
gotta do good, right?
yes, they were doing good they're doing good for the people, and at that time, you know, I walked in, I was like, I saw that person when I was walking through the screen. I think I may have had a speeding ticket or something, I don't remember, but I walk in and I see, you know, the professionalism and the courtesy that they had, and you know, and it's like I saw them doing their job that impressed me.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, they did have, you know, they had the trainers, they had all the tools that you needed to get the job done. And then now it seems like they've gone away from all of that,
Definitely.
and to the point to where you're kind of questioning, hey, you know what, the training is not adequate, and and then I work as an armed guard.
Yep.
The location that I work at, the reason why we're armed is because the security officer that at my location was killed. He was shot, and
So was there any mitigation of training when you went into that field? I mean, if that took place, had they instituted new training to discuss that situation, how to alleviate it? I mean, or was it? I mean, obviously they've addressed it, but in an adequate, meaningful way.
That as far as that goes, the training is they give us a training for a firearm.
Okay.
And right now I'm trying to fight to get something in between. I mean, like right now we armed guards, they carry pepper spray and a firearm, and there's nothing else in between there.
There's no taser.
There's not.
So that's your choice. So you as an individual who may be, not you, but individuals that may be inadequately trained, have a decision to make in a split second. Do I use mace or do I use a lethal weapon?
Right. And there's nothing in between there. And right now, what I'm trying to fight for is trying to get something in between. And I understand the city's point of view of of not using excessive force.
Correct.
Which that's what you would have if you had anything in between. That it could be if you had a baton. That's what they're looking at. But if you're looking at it in my point of view, you're going to be looking at whether are you willing to take the excessive force, or are you willing to take a charge for murder?
That's your choice essentially, because if they find that there wasn't, probable cause, or that there could have been other means, we have become this incensed environment. And I'm an activist and an advocate, and so I say this knowing that the fuel of the fire in the community now is then to go and attack you, right? And to go and attack and seek justice without even knowing that this person that we put into that place has been served an injustice in themselves because they've not been adequately trained or have those other the diversity of options to be able to present to them. Eric.
I say just on top of that, it seems like they're kind of valuing, the money and the liability issue over employee safety, and so that's another thing that we're fighting for is just the safety of our coworkers.
Definitely.
Coming into the building, we're often in the front line, first people that they see coming into the building, and we need to make sure that we're safe and we can go home to our families and be able to just come back the next day.
We thank you to all the listeners out there in Denver, Bolton, Netherlands, Fort Collins, and KGNU.org. We got SEIU representatives here in studio with me. We got Carlos and Eric here speaking about some of the concerns that they have in regards to the negotiations and the contract that is coming up with HSS in the city and county of Denver. We're going to take a quick song break here, and this sounds to me just much like a damn crazy train. And so we're going to lead in with that. We got some Crazy Train, Ozzy Osbourne for you. I'll see you guys on the flip side as we conclude this interview and discuss what are the next things going forward and how you and the community can get involved and support these individuals. So I'll see you in about 4 minutes.
That sounds good to me. Oh. 88.5, right?
Oh, 88.5.
Yeah, 88.5. John's listening. You guys
John
kick
Stone
ass?
or
John
Yep.
said, "You guys kick ass."
all right, John. Got to go. So we want him to go towards. So at the very end, that's how we try to get him to go to something. So we have him go to local SEIU, local
Yeah,
105.
have them go there and say we're looking for community members, people that may have, just looking for support, and you never know, right? But to have them, you want people to be able to start to follow what you're doing.
Yeah. So just tell them to go to Facebook, Go to the Facebook website. You know, go to Facebook. Look us up on Facebook. SEIU Logo 105.
So that's it.
You know. I mean, that way you're not bombarded with phone calls and nothing. You're not bombarded.
You can call Carlos at.
He can be
I'll give
bombarded.
him your phone. Your
You
phone.
guys gonna make it on the 27th?
Yeah.
27.
I'm having that dinner at the house.
Oh, for
I know Carlos's wife since she was pregnant.
Yeah.
We were teenagers.
Oh wow.
We were little knuckleheads. But we don't get to see each other. We're like, let's go to dinner. We've been saying that for 2 years.
Yeah, we've been saying it for 2 years.
When
Yeah.
how long have you guys been married?
Two and some.
We went to Vegas and they were like, you gotta go to dinner. You gotta go to dinner. And so I'm extremely busy. And so the wife and I have committed this year to be more social and find time for friends and family. So we're gonna do a monthly dinner.
Oh, nice.
So it's a friends and family monthly dinner. The first one will be at our house, and then like next month we'll do it at a restaurant. People come and go. One month you can and you can't.
Yeah.
Just to try and bring. I mean, we're all so busy, right?
It's a good idea, you know. When I heard about it, I was like, hey, that's cool. You
Yeah,
know?
it is
Oh,
but that's good.
Yeah, all right. We'll host the first one, maybe.
crazy train action.
Minute 45. And then we'll have around 9 minutes. So, so we'll be, just continue talking. Well, I'll be like, what are the next steps? Where are you at in the negotiation? How can the community support you? What are your needs? Like, this is your opportunity to say, and hold them accountable. So, like, what are your needs? And I'll blast this, and I can send every email as a community member saying, I have concerns or questions.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up to our commission tomorrow, the Devil Latino Commission, and maybe we can send a letter. Because we enter into those buildings, us.
So you guys are always in there.
Oh yeah, we're constantly in and out. Like, and I go into Lindsay Fleming and I'm like, you're working here? Yeah, a bunch of them. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't even hire my own nephew here. I'm like, this looks like, who are these people? I mean, and you think about it more now because of what has happened in our lives.
Yeah.
So that is, if you don't think about it, then something is wrong with you.
Yep.
Right? And
Yep.
so, I fly a lot, and it's the same thing. Like, when I'm eyes and ears, and so, but if you're not prepared to catch
That's
that,
what we're trying to explain to them, and they're only seeing numbers. They see the money, but they're not seeing what the risk is
and that's all it
for
is.
everybody,
20 seconds.
See, great song, huh?
This is Jose Silva. This is Tuesday Metro, and this is Up Dog. Thank you to all our listeners on Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, Maryland, and all those on kgnu.org/metro. Thank you to all our community listeners out there, and thank you so much to SEIU and their workers and employees and all the work that our union members are doing out there in this community and around our country to keep us safe, build buildings. And are doing the backbone work of this country. And so as we think about all of these things, and sometimes it's just, we don't even think about it. It's commonplace. We show up to a place in a building, we go through the metal detectors, and we come on out and we go and do our business. But with the environment that we are in today, we all have in some ways become security guards, but not those that put our life on the line, right? And so we should be aware of our sense of, and create that sense of security. But if my tax dollars are paying for somebody to be there to protect me, they should be trained the most adequate way, just like with education. Our tax dollars are going to fund education, and yet we still have this horrible dropout rate. That's a whole other topic and show. So we'll continue with the topic of the show today, the systematic failures of being able to protect and train. And so before we went to before we went to the song break, we were talking about safety and concerns and liability And so I kind of want to go back to those components and those pieces, Carlos and Eric, and if anybody else wants to jump in as well. But when we were talking about liability, right, and the choice and decision, what are your expectations from an employer?
You know, the expectations are there just, you know, and speaking just from just any employer will offer you benefits.
Yeah.
They'll offer you, you know, they'll offer you enough benefits. They'll offer you sick leave, something that we don't even have. We don't even have sick leave.
So let's talk about your benefits. So no sick leave.
Yeah.
No sick leave.
No sick leave. You know, our PTO, until recently, which we just got it changed with SEIU's help. We had 5 days, which is 40 hours of accrual for the whole year. And remember, we have no sick leave.
So you get 5 days.
That's correct. 5 days. And hopefully that I don't have an emergency. Hopefully that I don't get sick.
Somebody passes away,
Right.
bereavement, any of those components, right?
Right. And
How that is just unjust to me in a society that we live in today, in a society that is getting these are companies and organizations that are receiving municipal contracts. Then they should be following some of those municipalities and those same laws and rules and restrictions around that. You should be afforded that. How is that happening? How is that not happening?
right. And you know, how do they get away with it? I don't know. I don't know how they get away with it. And something that we're trying to fix is, you know, the turnover rate.
Yeah.
And how can you fix a turnover rate when you don't have the pay, you don't have the sick days? I mean,
I wouldn't go
if-
work for a company like that. Like, or if you started, you're going to be like, this isn't working for me, and you're going to quit.
Right. And that's what happened. So then now you're dealing back to what we were talking about in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
These people that have been there for a month or two, and they end up leaving. And then we get another person that comes in for another month or two.
So no continuity.
Right.
No stability. It's
Yeah.
very, you know, you have new people come in and out. It's like it's a security company. You got to have some stability, you know who you're working with, and that just increases the safety of the building.
I wonder how much money they're spending on retraining. Well, you can say they're training, but hiring in the hiring process. How much of that? How much are they spending there that could be used in effective training, pay increases? So then those wages, and you're not seeing that turnover. So let's just invest in keeping hiring people, because it costs 10 times more to hire somebody over and over and over time. And so you're thinking about that ROI. What's the return on that investment? It's minimal in terms of the margins. So how can then they turn to their shareholders or to the CEO and say, it's working?
Jose, you said it right there. You said it all. We've spilled this exact same thing to them and said, hey, you know what? Listen to this. Open your eyes and look at what you're offering us. Look at what's happening. Look at what the result is. You know, and just exactly what you just said. You know, how can you save money? You can save money. Save money without having to do training every other week. You know.
Do they have trainers that train everybody, or is it the person that's doing the HR and payroll this week that comes out and train? It looks like we have somebody that wants to say something. Go ahead, turn the mic to him so you can go ahead and turn it. Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, my name's Ernest Higgs. There's one trainer. There's just one, and it's a dual role. He's also what you call a GS3, so he's like the daytime site supervisor for all the sites. So in between trying to train people, he's responsible for going around and checking on all the sites on the contract.
That's unfunctioning. That's a dysfunctional, mismanaged company. And why is wow?
Well, before
And so if you say that to them, what do they say to you?
they really can't say nothing. They just
Ernest put his head down for all of
they
listeners.
look the other way. They look the other way and they move on to the next conversation because they know that in fact this is improper. They know it's improper, but they wanted to cut costs at some point. So just before I was hired in 2015 is when they had made that conversion. Because prior to that, they had more than one trainer.
And so they're cutting corners everywhere. So lack of training, dual roles.
Exactly. They bring the new hires over to us in the buildings
To
to
say,
get
hey,
the
here you
hands
go.
on.
Yeah,
so
here
we
you
have
go.
to train them at our stations
Are you getting paid for that?
No, we do not.
There's not a pay increase for that?
No.
No, okay.
And I think the most disheartening part about that is not only are we responsible for us doing the training, but we're still responsible for if something gets through, then it's on us too.
Yeah. So then
So
it's on you. So, okay, well, that person failed and missed this. You were supposed to, but you're not even adequately trained. You're not certified as a trainer to be able to do that.
exactly. So it's a dual foot, and remedial training that come through and they'll give us a piece of paper, say sign off on this, and then we'll have to do it in between people coming through the doors. So you've come in before. I know you've seen somebody going. They looking at a piece of paper and they trying to read something.
Yeah.
That was the training that they were doing in between, trying to ask you for your belt and your keys.
That's just crazy. We have a couple of minutes left here. What would you like to share with our listeners?
For everybody out there, if there's a time that you see, I mean, your employers, they start cutting corners like our employer has done. If that's the time to stand up and fight. Don't allow them to do too much, because what happens is that if you give them too much power, they'll start to cut too many corners that will cost you your job, and it'll be a waste of your time. So what you want to do is you want to back everybody up. So unity is the biggest thing here. You want to unite, stand and stay strong together. With SEIU, if anybody can, give us a support, council members, anybody that's out there that's listening, if you can go to www.seiu 105
.org.
yeah 105.org.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
And show your support, help us out. If there's anything you can do, we're willing to take any support.
I appreciate you all. I think that's the most important piece is when you're asking for support, and that's why I was excited to have you all on, because I think the community needs to be aware of this and needs to be aware of the concerns and the issues that are taking place in our community and in our public buildings, right? And the security of our public buildings, and has armed guards that you're putting your life on the line, because if you're an armed guard, then you're probably put in in a situation that requires strict security. And so as we think about this, and as we think about our concerns and ourselves in the community, I would just call on our listeners to get involved in whatever action you see possible, and in whatever way you see fit. But remember, those individuals that are doing this work out there are doing this work for little to nothing, and they're standing in the gap for us and providing protection to us. And so I would just ask you all to get in touch with these individuals and ask the tough questions of your political leaders in the community. And so I want to just thank Carlos and Eric and Ernest and everyone here from SEIU and Christina Alonso for reaching out to us to say, hey, can you tell our story? Because that's how we bring change in our community and in this country, is about telling stories. And so as we end here today, I want to remind all our listeners out there to be kind, show love, and provide hope to one another out there. And I wish you all the best, SEIU, and you all have my back. You all have my support, and I'll be right there championing your cause along the way. Till then, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace. That's the show.
That's the show, y'all.
Is that it?
See, y'all did good, man.
Is that it?
Yeah, 30 minutes goes quick, right?
Damn, yeah.
30 minutes goes fast.
Jose is over this shit. Tripping.
Well, 30
Wow. That is awesome.
Yeah, yeah.